Hello, hello, everybody. I am so excited to be back. Um, Today, we are going to talk about walking with God in a new age. This has been in my spirit for quite some time. And I know that there is like 90%. Hi, hello. I love your title, Hot and All That. That's amazing. Hello, hello. Yes, do introduce yourself. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I know there is a large percentage of people on this page who have expressed how they follow spirit or the universe, or God, whatever your verbiage is. Some of you have left church, some of you are in church, some of you are still discovering what that means. Some of you are like, I've had so much church hurt, I'm not even trying to go there. Right? Um, so I really wanted to talk about walking with God in this new age. And the reason why I am saying new age is because I feel like it's important whenever we are talking about spirituality to also address our environments when we are walking with spirit, and just the dynamics of what we face as a society when it comes to spirituality, how we feel about God, how Christianity shows up, Catholicism, right? Like Santeria, like many practices and religions and cultures follow spirit, but they all have a different name for it. And it's about dang time that we all find a way to have some common ground and to find peace within our own practices and what that really means for us. And when I say us, I also mean like a collective of spirits like yourself who have found their way to this channel. Like I am someone who also believes in spirit, universe, God. I say many different things. Um, but I also have been on a journey, like many of you, of reclamation when it comes to my own cultural and spiritual practices. And so it's important for us to honor that in ourselves as well. And as an activist, it's it's even more important to really encourage people. Hi, Claire. It's so great to see you, Mr. Face. It's really great to encourage people to not just discover what feels right for them, but I feel like as a collective, we really have to start rewriting how we interact with each other. And when we're going to actually commit as a community to remove remove all of the hate and the judgment that tends to divide us amongst religions and what we believe in. And um excited for Z School for the Gifted. Yes, I'm so excited you're gonna be there. Folks, you're welcome to join. The link is going to be in the description. We're celebrating Leo New Moon. We're also going to be doing some healing. There's usually breath work and meditation. And Leo New Moon is really about stepping into your destiny with strength, and calling on the energy of the lion to be with you. I'm a Leo rising, so anybody who has Leo in their chart, let's go. It's a really, really beautiful community, and I'm super excited. Those classes are always quite magical when we gather as a group. Um, and as folks who are tuning in right now, feel free to comment below, like your own experiences with walking with God or spirit. Like, where are you at? What are you healing? Do you feel connected? Do you sometimes not feel connected? Or whatever questions you have, and I'm happy to hold space for them. But I do believe that everything happens for a reason, right? I talk about that quite often on this channel. And yesterday, I was by the river, which, like most instances by the river, are very divinely led by God. And I meet the most miraculous people. Like the last person I met was Smitty, right? Schmitty. He is amazing. But this time I happened to be sitting there and I just had that feeling of I'm not supposed to leave yet. Even though my phone was gonna die, I was like, I feel like spirit has something to show me today, but I don't know what it is. And I sat in this spot that I don't usually sit in. Aw, thanks for saying that, Claire. Claire said, "See, school truly changed my life. So magical." Yes. Anybody who hasn't been there, you're definitely welcome. And now we have a group chat going for folks who are in the school, so you can be with your soul tribe, and all walks of life are welcome. But I was sitting in this space, right? And Spirit always leads me like where to sit, where to go, how to face, like all the things. And I got there and Spirit was like right there. And so I put my towel down and then I just kind of laid on my back and I heard all this buzzing. And then I was like, "Oh, I feel like people don't lay here because it's a circle of bees." Like, it was like all these bees circling around, and all the plants. I just happened to lay right in between all of them. And so I was like, "Well, Spirit says I have to be here." So I laid there, and then sure enough, someone comes someone comes over and they like don't see me at first, but they're kind of like swimming in the river and they pop up and they're like, "Oh, hi." And then I was like, "It's you." And we start having this conversation about our own life and spirituality and things like this. And I wanted to share it with you because it was so significant and just a true testament of what community can really look like when we learn to embrace not just our versions of God and our spirituality, but the way others exist as well. And they happened to be from Afghanistan. And we had a very deep conversation about what he experienced over there and what he was experiencing here in the US. And I had also asked him about some of his scars, and he had been attacked quite a few times where he lived, which was why his family ended up coming to the US by US soldiers. Um, and he and I shared many moments about what our beliefs were, and that even though we were both raised in households that had very specific beliefs about what was true, what wasn't true, we both had an understanding of that none of that mattered. None of that mattered, and that the energy that we kind of believe in terms of spirit, God, Allah, the universe, was that our purpose in life and everybody's purpose in life is to be unconditionally loving and accepting. And he was saying like very, very, very wise and enlightened things. And I had asked him about that because he was younger. He was in maybe his late 20s. And I was like, where have you gotten a lot of your wisdom? Because I'm always curious. Some people learn from family members, some people it's just divinely led. And he had said that when um, you are persecuted for so long about what you believe and have experienced what his people have experienced in some cases, you begin to see the world differently. And so he never wanted anybody to experience alienation like him and his family had experienced. And I guess that's all to say that as I was preparing for this and figuring out what Spirit wanted me to share, Spirit was very clear that um we all need to do a better job of showing up in the world while walking with Spirit from a place of unconditional love. And one of my pastors said, pastorally, meaning like how you go out in the world, regardless of who you are, if you're a Christian or a Catholic. He explained it very well, as like how can we best walk together while also carrying our stories and what our own beliefs are, and still feel safe enough to recognize when someone has experienced something, and love them just as God or universe and spirit has asked us to do, without being the type of people who, and whether or not resonate with the Bible or not, but I'm using it as an example. Whether or not you sit and read your Bible, because he had a very great point of also saying, like, there were times in his life, and I've experienced this as well, and you can let me know in the chat. There were times in his life when he needed help and needed understanding, and the only response that he was receiving, this was also from, I think his name, I can't remember his last name, was Manginelli or something like that, had said, um when he needed help, and he did turn to people who were spiritual or religious, or people who walked with God, universe, spirit, um, but specifically folks who looked at the Bible, the only response that he had received was that because the Bible said so. And so there wasn't any space held for them to learn, to grow, but it, like, the way they were sharing their faith, and instead of like allowing healing, it was forced. It's forced, and it caused a lot of pain. um and so I really wanted to share that, because I feel like in 2025, regardless of what we practice, whether you do read the Bible or you don't, or you go to church or you don't, or you are Buddhist, or you have Hindu practices, or whatever you believe in, there is a need and a necessity to be able to exist in this space and in this world without um, judgment of others. And so, you're also welcome to share it in the chat as well, how you are walking through your everyday life with an openness to experience other people's stories, because there's a lot of healing in being open. And um, it took me quite a long time to even say the word God again, based on a lot of the trauma that I experienced. And so when I surrendered that, and really started to look at my own path, um, it was, a lot of other people's traumas that led me to that space, because my connection never changed, but I perceived it as changed, but I was always unconditionally loved. And that's why I had said the other day on a live is, when people try and tell you that there is only one path to discovering the universe, or spirit, or God, while it is their beliefs, we do have to be mindful of what that can do to folks in our lives, and ask how we can come together more closely as a collective. Hello, Victoria. Grand Rising. How are you? How are you? Um, and again, like, feel free to write it in the chat. I'd love to know your own thoughts and what you believe in this stage of your life, because um we're also seeing just more and more, especially on YouTube and TikTok, more visibly, because we have access to more social media than our ancestors did, obviously. Um, Folks being of such a, like, a fluid belief system, right? Where they don't just believe in one thing, they believe in oneness and a collective. Um, and how do you feel about that? Like, what do you feel called to during this time? Or maybe it's none of that. Right? Maybe it's none of that, and I feel like that's okay too. And I've also realized, in Z School for the Gifted, um, that, many folks have also come into the class not fully feeling comfortable about the energies that have approached them, right? Deities and things like that, because of imperialism and colonialism and things like that, that have taught them that their culture is wrong. Um, but many of the cultural beliefs say that, spirit or the universe still created them, and they're here to help you, right? So how is it that they could be wrong? And so invite you all to kind of journey within to see what feels good to you, and if you do have any trauma that you would like to let go of, and think about ways that you can build safety. I'll see what Victoria says. It took me a long time to say God as well. Now I've shifted into frequency, energy, and vibration. I love that. That's your truth. It's so cool, right? When you can discover like what is right for you. Um and when I was doing my journey back to spirit, like spirit and God, that universe, or like the universe, and even Jesus energy has followed me my entire life. My entire life. I've talked about this on other lives. I don't know how it happens, but it just has always happened that way. Um and and so going through my own journey, and feeling comfortable to still show up as my authentic self, and then allowing the universe to kind of put me into places where I would feel comfortable. And on this channel, like I had shared my journey back into the church to see what it was like. And it was more of a new age church, and what they were practicing, and how accepting they were, and all that stuff. And it was just a beautiful way of also seeing growth in some areas, and also wanting to be myself. I feel like a catalyst for that, and knowing that many of you come from all different walks of life, and you are all welcome in this space, as long as we are not causing harm to each other. Um and always do what's best for you, but to not force others to do what you do. Feeling called to being on a larger platform, serving more souls than one-on-one therapy allows, and also not having found a way of doing that feels aligned with me. Playful is the way. I love that. Yeah, you definitely need to be on a larger platform. You're welcome to come to Magic to Market, Claire. We can talk about it. There's a class today at 4. But also this new moon is really great for that. Um, I believe we are all of one energy, that we are all a fractal of source energy, God energy, which is love. Everything is energy. Yeah. I love what everybody is saying, because there's truth in everything, right? And I've never really believed that, like, there is only one thing to be true. I feel like to say that one thing is true is to say that you know the universe. And I feel like that's a very like ego way of living, right? But there is truth in that everybody is energy. Um, and but there is the potential to also grow and know the universe more intimately. I love that. Um, uh, Claire said, class today, maybe not today, sadly, but soon. Yeah, they're every Monday. I just brought them together. Yeah, so it's Magic to Market for business folks. And then there's like a bigger academy coming, Z's Divine Academy. So it'll have the business, it'll have the spiritual class, and then I'm also adding in a new love class as well. Since that seems to keep coming up. You look like Evangelist Sarah. I don't know who that is. Are they easily searchable? Let me do some let me do some things. Um, Interesting. Huh, maybe we're twinsies. I'll have to look into them. Thanks for sharing that. I hope they're a very beautiful, bright soul. Claire, amazing. Amazing. I like that one too. Amazing. Um, yeah, so all are welcome into the Divine Academy, and things like that. And then there's going to be the option to add on Telegram coaching as well throughout the month if you need it. Um, but yeah, it's just such a beautiful journey, and I just love that we're also able to gather here with many different practices, and share. Bonita, Benita. Hello, Benita. How are you today, Z? I'm doing so well. I woke up early. I woke up slow. Uh, Dropped the car off. Having fun on live. Going to eat after this. Made some coffee. Talked with my ancestors. The usual. I also love that you changed your photo on YouTube. Yes, yes, yes. I can't wait to see you today. Benita is coming to Magic to Market tonight, which I'm super excited about. And if you didn't see them live, you need to go watch them. They were on CTV, throwing it down, telling their truth about their lives and their experience in More Than Worthy, which is my 6 month coaching program. But we got raw and real about her story, and it was really powerful. And she'll also be competing in Miss Universe Canada. What? Stepping into the spotlight. I'm so proud of you. Um, I'm excited to create magic to my market. I love that. You're so funny. I love your one-liners. Yeah, and for anybody who's joining right now, like, feel free to share your beliefs in the chat. All are welcome here in terms of energy, God, universe, manifestations. If you don't believe in God, that's chill too. Like, it's totally fine. Um, I feel like the most important thing is just that we honor each other's paths and the lives that we are being called to lead, really, regardless of words, right? The ego tends to how the ego tends to get caught up on how we must articulate certain things, but sometimes it's just like I am said, right? It's everything is energy. Sometimes it's energy, sometimes it's a feeling, which is also energy, but um life just changes. Yay, congratulations, Benita. Um, and I love that so many of you, I know some of you are, business leaders, which I feel like when you truly connect with the universe and spirit, God, um, you uh you do have like the urge to have a divinely led business, right? Because I feel like, and I was talking about this with someone I was chatting with earlier today. When you surrender to your path or to the universe, you will be guided a certain way um, to live your life. And I do feel like there's a large percentage of the collective who love being of service and who love what is wrong with my dogs today? Who love being of service and feel a lot of connection when they do that. And they had shared how some folks had mentioned to them that it was a sign of codependency. But I also strongly believe that, folks who do follow spirit and like to be of service, we find genuine joy in that because we enjoy aiding others because of our connection to spirit, right? That unconditional love that many of us feel. I sometimes doubt if my ancestors are there since my clairaudience is a work in progress, how to navigate such times. Thank you, Claire. Congratulations to you. I'm so grateful to see your growth and evolution. Yeah, Benita, I feel like the most important thing is to ask yourself why it is that you feel the only connection you can have with your ancestors is through your clairaudience. When I know there have been many ways that energy likes to connect with you, right? Why is it that you are only allowing yourself to experience your ancestors through your clairaudience? Why is that important? Why is that so important, right? A lot of times with manifestation and clairs and energy and things like that, when we try and force something or forced understanding or forced direction of energy, the opposite happens. It will not be given to you because um, you are putting too much stress and attention on that. And it's your ego's way of trying to force a connection with your ancestors that maybe they want to be connecting with you during this time in a different way. But you are only allowing them, wanting them, desiring them to experience them through your ears. or your like inner energetic clairaudience, when your ancestors could literally be in everything that you are doing. Maybe it's my fear self-doubt creeping in and telling me I'm alone. Yeah. Yes. Yes, Benita. That's very, very amazing observation, right? Um, the ego will also tell us uh, that if we don't have our ego's tangible way of experiencing the world in the 3D, then it doesn't exist, right? It's a very colonial way of thinking, that we must put our experiences of our ancestors into a way that only the brain can comprehend. Um, and it's just not true. The spiritual realm does not operate the same. And ancestors navigate however they choose to navigate. And if they choose to only give you visions, if they choose to only leave things for you, if your ancestors choose to guide you someplace or talk to you in your dreams, then that is how they choose to talk to you. We don't really get to decide how they communicate with us. It just is what it is. Um, but yeah, I would definitely look at that. I think I want my ancestors to be here with me physically and make some tea sometimes. Well, you could welcome them into your space. You did have spirits in your space before. You are strong enough, I know, to do that now. Um, it's just working on your veneration practice. Venerating what practices do you have for your ancestors already, Benita? Have you been consistent with your ancestor practices? Because that's the other thing too. Building a relationship with your ancestors takes time. And I feel like some folks too, when it comes to relating to God and the universe and spirituality, kind of neglect their ancestors, and that the ancestors are very different than spirit or God energy, universe energy. Um, and and so it's like you're craving them in a very different way, but you also have to build the communication with them. It's not something that the ancestors just do unless in your body already you have those channels open, and it is a gift you're meant to have earlier on. You have to actively work on your gifts, and and bridge it with them and build safety and communication. But sometimes if you are inconsistent with your practices, you can't expect consistent communication. Yes, I put out water for them daily. I share and eat food with them. Um, keep working on it. But I invite you to connect with your ancestors in a very different way, because like every ancestor is different. Um, And I learned that many, many times on my path, and I see that with other clients as well. Just because you want to be able to experience them in the 3D doesn't mean they want to do that. Doesn't mean they even know how to do that either. Um, some do, some don't. And, some just don't want to. And they could be showing up in many, many other ways. Your ancestors are held so deeply in your heart space, when you heal your heart space, which, maybe sit with some journaling as well, and why you feel lonely, right? Why you crave them in that way, um, or why you want them to prove themselves, right? It's almost like a asking them to prove their presence, which sometimes we need, but also where is that coming from? Um, I forgot where my train of thought was going, but um just keep practicing and evolving, right? Like, as I've mentioned before in Z School for the Gifted, your spiritual practices must evolve as you evolve. And so, like, my connection with my ancestors looks very different than how it did in the beginning. While, yes, water and food and all that works, my energetic connection became stronger to them because that's what we started to build on, because I could act they and I communicated so strongly, that I could feel them in my physical body, but I also like healed my heart space and did many, many things like that. And so when I feel their presence or they're wanting a candle lit or they're wanting water or they're or wanting, money or whatever it is, I do those things, but you have to perfect opening the channel to communicate with them and be consistent and heal your own heart space so you can feel them. And then once you can feel them, you can magnify your energy and communicate with them more strongly. I can't differentiate my ancestors. I know my grandmother is there. I know they are there though. Yeah. That's an emotional and energetic thing. Um, you have to communicate with them and ask them for um signs and learn to recognize them. When there is difficulty, hold on, my dog. When there is a difficulty, and this can even happen when you're walking with spirit too, um when you have a difficulty differentiating, you have to dig more deeply into your meditation practices and go back to square one. Um, because you could be getting flooded from your other information, right? And that's why it's always good to take the time with your clairs. Like everybody just wants to open their clairs and experience everything all at all at one time. But then if you're not taking time out every week to like focus on one individual gift so you can recognize the energy or communicate with one individual spirit and maybe ask inviting them to come forward if they choose to, it's going to be quite difficult for them to communicate. But the stronger your energy is with the spiritual realm, the better they're going to be able to communicate with you and the more you can understand their communication. In the beginning, obviously, like I had visions, I could feel their presence. And then it evolved into visions, and then it evolved into cravings, and then it evolved because I consistently submerged myself into the spiritual realm over and over and over and over again. And I gave them permission, and I did my dream work and I lit candles and I fed them, but I submerged myself. That was my intention, to not be afraid and just keep going into the spiritual realm. And then after that, I had bridged it so strongly that they now talk to me through everything, right? Through my phone, through people, through me, through cravings. Like it all happens at once now. But it's a flow of energy. When you force a communication, right? Like if you're only focusing on them talking to you through your clear audience, it's like shooting a fire hose through a tiny, you know what I mean? Like you're not giving them enough chances to be able to show you how they're communicating, which means you're also turning off parts of your energy flows within your chakras and even your meridians and things like that. Because the more open your energy is, the more you can understand how energy flows. I feel like I'm deepening my connection to I love that. I feel them wanting to communicate more. Yeah, keep going. I love that. Also, I love your drawing in your picture. My ancestors communicate with me daily. I have no clue what they're communicating though. Yeah, just sit with them even more and practice. You can create practices where you can ask them, to confirm a yes or a no. And it's okay. Like sometimes you're not going to know what they're saying. And I even sit down and I tell them like I need you to make it absolutely clear. Like so clear that I can't question it, and then it's like someone will walk up and just like, hey, blah, like literally sometimes. Or it's just like they take over my TV or my phone or whatever, but it's because I've also opened the energy. I've opened the energy, and in my mind, I have conditioned myself so deeply that um I go beyond what reality is supposed to look like. I just go beyond it because if I like even if you have subconscious thoughts right? It's the same with manifestation. If you have subconscious thoughts that say that um, um, they're only going to communicate in this way, your own energy then magnifies that outside of you, and that becomes your truth, right? Because you're a manifester. So any thought that you have becomes true, and then it becomes a confirmation bias, and then it goes over and over and over. It's the same thing, right? Like if you are constantly focusing on hardship, if you're constantly focusing on not having money, you confirm it, it happens. You can like it happens and then you confirm it. Like it's over and over because your energy is stuck in that loop. But if you condition yourself to believe that I communicate with my ancestors so clearly and my energy is open to them, those of the highest vibrational light and frequency, and I literally tell myself I defy the normal realms of like what reality is meant to be, and I merge myself with the spiritual realm. Like I consist there is no like I literally am like there is no difference now. I walk both at the same time simultaneously. That's why weird stuff always happens to me because I've pushed myself in between that energy of being here and there, and just accepting that there is no here and there. It's just everywhere. And so when you're everywhere, you can do anything. Why would I tell myself that there is, for the sake of like explaining it, I have to articulate it that way. But in the facts, right? Like I am saying, like everything is energy. So there is no reality where I can't understand them because everything is energy and I am energy. So I must be able to understand them. And that's my truth. My truth is not, um, I can never understand, but I don't know. No, that's my mind. That's my mind. I'm like, okay, tiny brain, I need you to sit down because in this space we are all energies. Of course I understand everything. Of course I understand it. I love that advice. I will surely make a better effort. Yay. Let me know if this is helpful for you. And I know we were kind of talking about spirit, but I feel like it all intertwines because um our ancestors in spirit, the way they communicate are different, but it's just comes down to a matter of understanding how to recognize the energy is different. It feels different. It moves different. And the first time I kind of was able to experience it was I was constantly in meditation. Like I always drop into meditation. I just allowed myself to like let go, right? Which for some people it's not always safe to do that. But for me, it like in that time, that's what spirit was asking me to do, to like let go. And so I let go of my entire mind. And I remember dropping into meditation and I was just in space as a energy dot. And ever since that day, and I remember going to tell my teacher at the time, I was like, I don't know what happened today, but I became the essence of energy as a dot. And they just laughed. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, something is punching me in the stomach and I don't know what it is. And then it was like, boom. I just kept dropping in. And then Alegua, and then Mary, and then Jesus, and then Ganesha. And then it was just like, boom, 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 boom. Like you have to get to a certain depth of meditation without your mind getting in the way. If you will see how much your mind gets in the way when you sit in meditation. If you can sit in meditation and nothing happens, there's no thought, no anything, then you are on the right path, right? But um I feel like we've normalized being in meditation and there being an overload of distractions, right? But that is a sign to you of how busy your mind actually is. When there's so many thoughts in there, that also tells you that there is no room for extra energy from your ancestors and spirit sometimes. So the best thing to do is to continue to practice your meditation and get to that blissful state of existing without needing anything, existing and just living, existing and being, existing, and to be free, be that speck of dust. um, Yay, I'm so glad it's helpful. Thanks for confirming, Claire. What helps me connect to my ancestors feeling because my ancestors weren't able to fully express, so I feel myself breaking karmatic cycles by feeling them deeply. Absolutely. Live all up in those feelings in the heart space. Your ancestors will always be there. Do we work with deities because our ancestors may not be able to have the energy we need to ascend? No. I'm just curious about why deities work with some and not with others. Um, it depends on their. So, first question, do we work with deities because our ancestors? No. Our ancestors are quite strong. Um, our ancestors, deities do a different type of ascension, but our ancestors are very, very strong. And it also depends on your ancestors and what they did. Um, but many of, for instance, my ancestors were healers and like go very far back, very shamanic, very strong. And even then, like they just have strong energy. And so the deities are here to teach you something that isn't necessarily there. But I've had deities also teach me things um, that the ancestors couldn't teach me. And I've had deities tell me to work with the ancestors because they have the knowledge that they don't hold. So it's not a ranking. I wouldn't see it as a ranking whatsoever, because everything is energy. Deities. Um, have a certain type of like specialty, I would say. It's kind of similar to the ancestors, but I would never rank them. They do different things. All of them are created by spirit in the universe, um and so I feel like it's kind of a cautionary thing, especially like I don't even though I have to explain it this way, like in terms of ascended masters and all those things, I don't like the idea of ranking things because it's the ego's way of understanding life. But there are people who have perfected things, right? So you do have to learn from them, but to see them above you is an egoistic thing. And it says stuff about our self-worth, right? So there's that. Most deities want to work with most people. It's just most people cannot understand them. Deities will always want to help. Um, and like when you are on that frequency, then the deities are there, right? Because you can understand them. Certain ones can choose you. Um, but it's also like kind of a two-way street. But if a deity decides to not work with someone per se, right, it's usually because of your energy, right? In order to access deity energy, you have to be of a higher frequency, which means you can't live in your ego life. And so that is when you can work with them. So deities kind of choose to not work with you also because your energy is not of the same standard and you literally can't communicate with them. So I feel like it's also kind of like a verbiage thing. Um, but most people can work with deities, uh, but my biggest thing is like to not petition to them unless the like you're being guided or it's like around you enough so you can understand it. Because once you work with a deity, it's a whole different path. It's a whole different path. And people think working with deities, it's like um it's an in and out kind of thing. It's not. It's not. Not gonna lie, my meditation is a struggle. Yeah, get back on your meditation. That's your 1-800 spiritual realm, right? Your meditation drops off, there in comes that loneliness too, right? Your meditation is your self-worth. What's a good amount of time to spend in meditation? How many times a day? I understand that we are all different. Any advice would be, it depends on the person. Um, the longer, I will say this, good rule of thumb is the longer the meditation, the more balanced you're going to feel, most likely. And you can see how long it takes you to get to a point of no thoughts and let that be your guide. Hi, Idiala. It's so great to see you. Hello, hello. Benita, I just have I. um, I love this conversation. Yeah, deities are amazing. Communicating with the other realm is just so powerful. But you know, again, another good rule of thumb is like if you're not meditating, expect your communication to break down. Expect it. expect it. Unless you have bridged, like, you have to also go beyond a certain point, right? So me being a medium and being able to hold energies in my body and like possession and things like that, like it's my life is to the point where if I do fall off of my meditation because of trauma, my ancestors will literally speak in my 3D realm so loudly that I can still pick up on it and they help me out of it. But you have to get to that point of being able to receive that energy. And so it takes a lot of consistency. Like you have to be consistent so then you can also get to the point where like they can assist you more easily and it'll be instant. It'll be so um instant where like even throughout the day if I forget a task, they tell me. You know? So it's how whatever effort you are putting into it is what you are going to get out. And I don't want folks to think that it's just going to happen overnight. And sometimes there are cases where it happens overnight where folks just are able to surrender. They're just freakishly able to surrender and they've done it right. And then other folks, it takes time. It takes time to release that ego because it's so heavily ingrained into who you are and what you believe and how you exist in the world, to be honest, you know what I mean? um so hopefully that uh answers your question. I love just that we're also talking about breaking karmic cycles. Ancestors are great for helping to break karmic cycles. The ancestors will fight for you tooth and nail. They're around more than people think, but people can't always connect with them and folks tend to alienate other ancestors and they think that it's only one lineage, but that's your ego pea brain like telling you that. When you invite all your lineages in of the high frequency, like you'll be able to allow like they'll be able to talk to you, right? Like certain lineages of mine do different things. I think I've talked about this before, but I'll share it again, right? When it comes to like my luck and money, there's two sides. Like the Buddhist side always come in and teach me about like money practices, things to do, do's and don'ts in my space, sending me to other lucky Buddhist like people. Um, they teach me about energy flow and wealth and magnetizing money and how to like not find money, but like be in the frequency of money and find people who are also on high frequencies of money so I can learn from them and like catapult myself towards them. And then there's also my other ancestors who step forward from like Oklahoma and things like that who are were extremely physically lucky in the 3D. And so they teach me luck. And then, there's like my ancestors who teach me how to manifest through dance, which are, like my Turkish ancestors and like some on, like Russian dancers. Like it's just like they all just come at different times. And then, my candle magic and working with Orishas, like obviously that comes, it's a mix actually. It comes a lot from Africa, but it also comes from Latin America and that area. Um, and my warrior spirit comes from different places too. How I cook comes from different ones. My possession comes from ancestors in Louisiana. Um, so you have to like let go of what you think um, and how they're supposed to communicate because when you just let it go and just live, you can start to pick up on their energy. Ideala, I love listening to your stories and Z School for the Gifted because you have a very strong possession gift where you can hold energies in your body and I feel like Ideala is a good example of someone who can let go and surrender and lean in. I feel the same too with Antoinette. Antoinette is very powerful as well with the Orishas now. Um, and she's been letting go quite frequently, and now she can like tune in on what Orisha is talking. Um, and my favorite phrase for everybody is just lean in and let go. But notice like if you're, questioning a lot of things and you're not leaning in, they're not gonna be able to teach you that way. And Benita, you're really great at the deities who are earthly spirits, and Claire is very tapped into like ascended masters, which I love. So you have quite the path ahead of you, I know. Um, I was like, get ready, because ascended masters will just like pull the rug out from underneath you. God will too, to teach you some lessons, like if you want to know unconditional love and things like that, you must know energy, you must know spirit, because spirit is ultimate love. And so that means every part of your ego must be removed. And so in order to do that, everything about you must go. And a lot of people don't like that feeling, but when you work with ascended masters, you have to get used to perceived losing your money, your home, all these things, right? The things that our ego tells us that we need and that make us the most secure, so that you can lean in. How deeply can you lean in? The quicker you lean in, the more you can master it, the more you let go of your ego, the easier it is to connect with them. What about working with angels? Angels are great. What do you want to know about them? There's many, many different types of angels, and working with archangels are very different than angels. Archangels are more easily felt, especially for folks on YouTube and things like that, because they have a very large presence. Angels in general have a large presence, but archangels, warrior spirit angels, are very strong, very, very strong, and they don't have like the ancestors, will not want to overwhelm you. They have a closer connection to earthly living, and the archangels don't care. They don't care, and they are of service, and so they will make their presence known. And the more your energy is expansive, the more you can feel it. Praying to archangels is the easiest way to understand them. Releasing your fear. Fear is a big one. A lot of people don't realize um, their fear keeps them from experiencing true connection with everything in the spiritual realm, because they're scared of what might happen, or they were told something, or can they see me during this time, or um, you know, when you call them in, is there any particular practices to do to enhance your connection apart from meditation? No. Pray. Right? Archangels primarily work on prayer, um, lighting candles for them. Saints are a little bit different, because a lot of saints also have other things you can offer them, but you can leave offerings for angels and stuff like that. But their biggest thing is prayer. Prayer. They hear your prayers. Um, like if you were to work with a saint, maybe you would do like a novena, right? Or offer wine, or whatever it is. You can still leave offerings to them, but most of them it's through prayer and devotion and trust and opening your heart to them. And you have to speak to them and let them know what it is that you need, so that they can come into your life, so they can answer. Angels answer prayers. So you pray, answer, right? I find that even my art type changes. Yeah, I thought it was this same. I'm learning to appreciate when I'm doing all-star art or heart art. Now I'm in circle art. Are those ancestors too? It just depends. In order for me to know who's communicating with you, I'd have to sit in your energy, but I'm not going to sit in people's energy today. But I would meditate on it. Sometimes it's ancestors, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's spirit, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's an old artist. Like for a little while, I was getting visited by Basquiat. Basquiat? Basquiat. Basquiat. Yeah. I don't know why that sounded funny. Um, and I started drawing some weird things. But it was so much fun. It could be anything. The ancestors don't fit into one category because they are dynamic. Um, yeah. If you're not religious, can you just riff your prayer? Yeah. You don't need to be religious to talk to angels. Angels are a creation from spirit, the universe, God, whatever you believe in. Um, and so religion is something that was created way later. Spirit created everything, right? And then religious came later. Religions came later. Um, you do what you want. You do what you want. There is no like right way or wrong way. I mean, there are prayers for each angel and archangels, but even if you just sit in prayer, I'm always the type, I always pray on my knees. I humble myself. I'm a very like humble person in that sense. Um, and if that's something that resonates with you, you can definitely do that. But there's other times I've prayed to them when I'm standing, but most of the time, if I am able to, I humble myself. It's the same way at my altars. I don't stand over my altars unless I'm like um cleaning them. It's because it's like a sacred space to me. And it's also why like when I hi Aubrey, also why when I would do channel messages, I'm usually sitting on the ground. I'm with the earth energy, but also like humbling myself and trying to remove my ego and things like that. So, it's just a sign of respect that I do that I've always felt called to do. But it's yeah, it's completely up to you. But you can light a candle for them if you want to light a white candle, and say your prayers and kind of open it right. It never hurts. Candle work, elemental work it never hurts to do it. It is a direction of energy, right? So that's why you also see a lot of people like pray and light candles at the same time. Many practices were also from other cultures that just got adopted into religion. So there's that. But yeah, what are you most comfortable with? Um, yeah, angels are quite cool. Archangels are quite wild. And also, once you are open to experiencing things in your 3D, like a lot of people get scared of experiencing things in their 3D, you can experience the angels in the 3D. They'll do the same thing as ancestors and Orishas, possession, right? But you have to look beyond, you have to be able to energetically look beyond the physical body. Like you have to look beyond it. Like when people like you've experienced, I'm sure, Benita, right? Like, I mean, there's some folks who just channel spirit, right? Like you just know it's a spiritual message. And then there's um talking to someone and then their whole energy shifts. Their whole energy shifts. And then even the way they look at you shifts. Um I don't remember if any of you were on the page back then, but I did talk about other times when I had experienced angels and how they come through and how Michael's very, very blunt. And so is Raphael quite strongly. And um, it's almost funny because when they're in someone's body, the person like has almost like an emotional outburst in a moment because their angel is trying to speak through a human and they're not meant to do that. And so there were times when I was like staring at someone at the counter and I was having this conversation about cutting someone out of my life. And I just kept looking at the person who was like bagging up my stuff as I was talking to someone else. And I was like, Michael is like in their body. Like, I was like, this is interesting. But I just like kind of ignored it. And I was like, what are Michael's always around? Someone's body and other bodies and whatever. Um, and then I turned to this person I was talking to and about cutting them out, and the person, they were just like, la la la, and they turn, and they look me in the eye, and they like slam their hand on the thing, and they were like, cut them. And then the person like kind of like shook at it, like, and then I was like, oh, hello. You are listening, and then she's like, I'm really sorry. I don't know why I did that. And I was like, forget about it. I'm not going to tell you why you did it. And there's been quite a few times like that. And the other time was with Raphael. And I had said something about a stone to this woman, and she was acting quite funny. And I was like, oh, there's an angel in you, but I couldn't figure out who it was. Because it was one I hadn't met yet in the physical body. And I was like, oh, I need, we were talking about angelite versus celestite, like one is in the earth longer than the other. And I had said, oh, this stone is for, and I said a different angel name. And then they turned, same kind of thing, turned, looked at me, put their hands on the table and was like, Raphael. It's like, excuse me. I just laughed. And then she was like, walked away. And I was like, you, could you just pretend to be nicer? No, but it was my ego, right? No, that it's just they don't communicate the same. Or like if it's an angel, like there's been Archangel Faith once came through like a man when I was in a hotel in Houston, and he was just I was asking questions about where to travel, and he just knew everything, like you need to go here, and then you need to go here, and like he was just saying a bunch of stuff, and I was like, and then where do I go? But he like it was like he was just telling me all this information, and then um and Faith has a way of communicating by letting me know that it's them. And so then, like, the most time people don't remember the conversations because I started going back and like asking because I was like, hmm. And, I walked up to him and then I was like, thank you for all the travel advice because I was checking out the hotel. And that's how God usually would guide me. Like, this hotel, this hotel, this hotel, go here next. Like I was getting instructions when I got there. And I was like, thank you for all the advice. And he was like, who are you? I was like, have a good day. Goodbye. Um, Raphael gives me calm man vibe somehow. Yes, he's calm. If you ever ask him to intervene with love, he won't feel so calm. You won't feel so calm. Raphael has like a warrior energy, just like Michael, but very, very calm, loving energy. But when they intervene, when someone's getting involved or like doesn't belong on your union path, he will come for them. Like, and also you. And he'll just like sever everything. Like it's like like him and Michael just like it's like Michael cuts the tie and then Raphael comes in and just like sits your ass down energetically and makes everything hurt so you can heal. I love Raphael. Um, Azrael has a very different energy, but when Azrael comes around, I'm like, how long am I gonna cry? And then it's like Azrael, Anubis, Kalima, Ganesha. It's like clockwork. I was like, man. Then Durga, and I'm like, man, can I not cry yet? But yeah, honestly, like just pray and they'll hear you. And be open to it. Be open to it. Ideala, I feel like because you have a strong possession gift, if you prayed and let them know that you are open to experiencing them outside of the normal realm, like you can do it. I know you can do it because I can see you all the time. um, and I know your gifts They're very similar to mine and how they were in the beginning. If you let them know that you want to experience them outside of life, then outside of the normal realm, and that they can intervene whenever they choose. Get ready. Get ready. Um, I have been on Hinge and literally crickets. So I was thinking Raphael isn't letting them come through. Why do you need to be on Hinge, um, Benita? Why do you need to be on Hinge right now? You're supposed to be focusing on your career, ma'am. Yeah. So when you are feeling, I would connect this, right? Connect this to what you were telling me earlier about the ancestors and, wanting them to come visit. Are you feeling a little bit lonely lately? Is that why you're on Hinge? I had a friend there and I thought maybe I needed to be there. No, your path is different than your friends. And notice that you say, I thought maybe I needed to be there. Get into your heart space. Get into your heart space. You have been there a while. Get off Hinge. Get off Hinge for a little bit. Because when you start to question things and you're not meditating, there is no reason why you need to be on Hinge. Like, notice what is happening, right? Connect all the strings. That is okay, but notice that your meditation has not been as good, right? You're saying you've been struggling a little bit. So notice everything that's happened around that, right? Notice everything around it. Even if it's not of loneliness, stick to your meditations and just follow your heart. Um, and you got the confirmation anyways, right? Being on Hinge and it's crickets because you're not meant to be there. So, which happens, right? It just connect with your heart space more so you can feel into the decisions. Because sometimes, um, yeah, good. Okay, got it. I will be off Hinge today. Yes, stay off Hinge. I was just talking to someone else today about Hinge and other apps, right? Like, so you are very divine, like certain divine goddess energy. Stay away from apps. Stay away from apps. Apps are for certain people to chase, right? You don't have that energy. You are in strong goddess empress energy, Benita. So don't be on there. And someone was saying today, because I there's like a mix, right? There's like this is why I'm opening the relationship class, but there's like a mix of putting yourself into circumstances where you will be able to heal any biases that you might have about what you are trying to attract into your life, right? And then there is the simple fact that being magnetic and in that divine feminine energy means anywhere you exist, your manifestations find you, right? Because even the act of um chasing certain things like we do on an app, right? That initiation, that ego response of I'm going to choose. Spirit already knows who your partner is, right? I'm going to choose. We have to be careful to this is for everybody. We have to be careful if you what are you are manifesting, right? It depends on your energy. Depends on your energy. Many people find couples on there because they're meant to be. Benita, you're so sweet. Just delete. I always listen to Z. Yes, stay off there. You don't you are not gonna find your partner on there. Um, you are beyond that, right? You've done a lot of work. You don't need to be on there. So some people can be on there, but that is not your path. And also, if you're on your divinely led path, spirit will lead you to your partner regardless of where you are. And when you're divine feminine energy, you're in divine attraction energy. And I was explaining, that's what I was saying. I was explaining this to someone today because, like, I took a journey of like, okay, I'm gonna go to these masculine like places to see what biases I had, to see how comfortable I felt there. Um, and then I realized, I was like, okay, cool, but I can also attract everything I need, right? So I had realized and I had mapped it, I had mapped it, um, that anywhere I went, I would attract a masculine man, which means I can attract anything from any place, right? Because when you just focus on one area, again, you miss the communication, right? Like with the ancestors and things like that. This is not just for Benita, but for everybody. Um, and like I go to gas stations and I meet masculine men. I go by the river. I meet very masculine men. Even if I go to a more feminine class, there might be a man outside. Right? So it's like, but if I just only decided to go to like more masculine areas, that just also means I'm chasing it. I need to be in the energy of receiving. So you have to be in the energy of receiving always, and realizing that spirit in the universe is your provider first off and foremost. So no point of an app. There's literally no point of an app, but I feel like everybody should go through the stage of being on an app to feel the energy. But most like divine femme energies hate apps. They like I see this time and time again. And folks, let me know if this is true for you or like even if you're not a femme, how do you feel about dating apps? Um, because the energy is so chaotic when you're on there, right? Like you start questioning yourself. It's all these things. Like why do we have to click all the buttons, right? The femme energy, regardless of gender, is meant to exist and attract and be magnetic. So an app is the opposite of that. It's the opposite of that. It's literally the opposite. Um, it's the opposite. It's like a death trap for folks who are like sitting within that energy. Yeah, app is definitely draining. So don't go on there, right? Like keep that like do not touch the thing that drains you. Do not touch it because then that means you tell the universe that you're open to being drained. I don't like dating apps only because I prefer to meet a partner face to face. Exactly. Then that is what you will receive, right? Like confirm for the universe what you are wanting. I also um some folks do well on like Bumble BFF and like that kind of stuff. I went into it for like a tiny bit because I was like, I'm gonna see what's here because I was guided to do it. And then I went through this process, met some folks who I needed to meet, and I deleted it because I was like, nope, same thing. Nope, same thing. And then I started to meet a bunch of people outside. It was like, no, I don't want that energy on there. I want divinely led certainty. I want divinely led certainty. I don't want to pick fish out of a barrel. I'd rather be living life and having fun and enjoying myself. And, I'd also told them, which I found hilarious. Um, I was in my ballet class a while ago and I kept seeing this motorcycle outside. And I think on one of the lives, I was like, can someone just take me on a motorcycle? Like I said all these things. And then this really burly man shows up to ballet class, and I was like, like, this is interesting. And then he starts talking to me, and he was like, they had an injury or something, and they're like, someone recommended that they should try ballet for ankle mobility. And he was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's like, I don't even know why I'm here. And so I was like, interesting situation here. Um, so you never know who you're gonna meet wherever you are, but I will say when you are in your divine femme energy, it's different. It's so different than any energy. It's so, so, so different. There is no like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like divinely led business, right? Like all of you are following spirit and your manifestations do the same thing with your love practices. Your love practices because like not so long ago I was driving, and the ancestors kept trying to get me to go to this gas station. I was like, "Why do I need to go to the gas station?" I was like, "It's all the way across town." And they were like, "Will you just go?" I even tried to turn into other gas stations, and someone would like cut me off, and I'm just like, "Y'all are being like I'm just get hard headed for no good reason because life is fun." And so then I like turn into the gas station, and um, I find that if I just stand there looking blank, someone will help me with my gas. And so I was doing that. But then that day, I had also decided that I needed to put air in my tires. And I like really didn't want to do it. So I walked over to the thing and I like pulled it out and went all out and then like it dusted. And then this like man walks over and he's like, "I'll do that for you, don't worry about it. I'll also do that for you, don't worry about it." I was like, "Peachy." I was like, "Oh, is this who you wanted me to meet?" Or like, "This is why we need you to just do what we say." I was like, "Okay, okay." Um, I see. I didn't like dating. I didn't look at dating apps that way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it also comes down to like what works for your energy. I feel like the spiritual space is very different, is very, very different than other spaces, right? Like folks who may not be as gifted will probably find each other on there. But like when you're being talked to by your ancestors and your guides, and you can pick up on energy just from looking at someone's face and then see their timeline, get the off the app. You know what I mean? Like, it's way too overwhelming. It's the same thing with social media, right? Like, it's a lot of energy. So you always have to be selective on how you interact and things like that, and like only go towards the things you love. And that's how I was meeting a ton of people. I always did the things I loved. I always, um, I always met men when I was running by the river, running, laying in the sun, literally in fucking ballet class, painting. Someone owned a gallery. Like it just like things can look different. Things can look different when you decide to help yourself, in a different way and honor your spirituality. Um, oh, I totally missed this comment. I'll buckle up. I actually called Raphael last night. Get ready, Idiala. I just saw that messages. That message. Ooh, messages. Did I miss some more? I hope I didn't miss some. But yeah, what other questions do you all have? Because I feel like this is really great. And I'm also adding, as I mentioned, a love class to the Divine Academy, which is going to drop soon. So the Divine Academy is going to include Z School for the Gifted, a love class, and a business class. So you can pick one a week, and then it'll also include two coaching sessions. And it'll be monthly that you can pay for if you are wanting the whole shebang. But because like manifesting folks into your life as someone who's spiritual is a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. And for the longest time, like I fought it for a long time, but I needed to get to know myself quite a bit. And sometimes the dating apps will help you do that, right? But everybody needs to learn. So putting yourself on there at some point or another and then realizing that it doesn't work for you is also okay and it'll work well for other people, but it's not that. And when you're figuring out your gifts too, like you're gonna do stuff like that. It just is what it is. You're gonna drop off your meditation and get confused and start doing stuff. Then you get back on your meditation and then you're less confused. Um, your meditation is like your gasoline or an electric charge, whichever one, or hybrid. Or, well, you still take gasoline on like a boat. You know what I mean? Yes, very true. And, you know, go towards the energies that allow you to soften. I've also met a ton of men in coffee shops. So many. I felt like I don't know what it is. I like a couple weeks ago was with my friends and I was like, it's so busy here. And I was like, where are my friends? And I messaged them and they're like, oh, we're in the car. We haven't come in yet. And then they came in and I was like, someone should grab a table. And they were like, every time we come here, like it's not busy like this. I was like, every time I come here, it's like this. I'm like, there's some sort of vortex around you when you start to become magnetic. And so you don't have to worry as much about what is going to find you. It always finds you because if you believe it, then so it is, right? Um, and it can't miss you. It can never miss you. Same thing with all of your other manifestations and stuff like that. Speaking of which, I'm dropping um today a little tidbit of mango men and other manifestations, just so everyone's aware. Just so everybody is aware. Sharing that for folks who are new, um, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, do any of you have any other questions? I'm probably gonna get going in like maybe 5 minutes. Hi, it's good to see you. 'Cause it is a lunchtime. Um, yeah, definitely beneath to stay off that app. Stay off that app. It's not good for your energy. You have very strong energy. You don't need it. Stepping into the spotlight is gonna help. And that's the other thing, right? Manifesting partners and things like that. You have to be 10,000% comfortable in who you are. I like to say 10,000 because I love that number. Um, in order for them to recognize you. How do you strengthen astral protection? Were you in the astral class? I don't remember. Um, but we did like an astral class and I led folks through it. I'm actually creating an astral meditation for insight timer for folks to do before bed to help with that. Um, it requires like being very anchored in your energy and your pre-work before you go to bed, anchoring into earth energy, shielding, shutting off energies, um, energetically, visualization, and then dropping into your astral space. But it starts with building a strong astral space for you, which is what we did. And then we kind of protected it, and then I brought them out of it so then they could kind of navigate that astral space. It does open it up for other energies, and then from there you kind of keep building into your um, protection work. But it's visualization mostly and being anchored to the earth. Hello, Athena. Oh, you weren't? Okay. Yeah, that was a fun class. Maybe I'll do it again down the road. But I am gonna work on that meditation, finish it for folks. Because the other one's like perfect for the rising and connecting with outside energies. I've had some folks say that they were listening to that and then deity started to show up in their life like a couple days later. So I'm gonna do one for sleep, and rest and astral protection and things. It's called Cosmic Dreams. Hello, Athena. It's so great to see you. Um, so I have Athena. I was like literally thinking about you not that long ago, and I was like, oh, I wonder if Athena's gonna pop up today because there was something that you said in in the last live that made me laugh so hard when I was telling my story about how my gynecologist was like, oh yeah, like asking for my partner to drop off all the sperm and all that stuff. And then you had said, like, what if it was like, from a test from the universe or something along those lines, basically. And I was like, exactly. That's why I didn't quite say no, right? I just was like kind of, you know, skirted around it. Um, but funny story, because we were just talking about the gas station. I then, thanks to you, no, I'm just kidding, kind of. The next day, I went to a different gas station and I met I met a man, a very masculine man, um, and he was great, Venezuelan soccer player, and had two sons. And as I was talking to him and getting to know him, I peeked over his shoulder because ancestors were giggling, and so I peeked over his shoulder and there was a giant sign for the building across the street that said, um, ultrasound pregnancy center. You know, these things, because I was debating on scheduling my ultrasound. Um, and then after I like had that exchange, I scheduled my ultrasound and I thought it was the funniest thing. And I was like, oh, I need to tell Athena. Um, as further confirmation for you because I thought it was hilarious. So thank you for that. Um, King Grizzly Orisha Obatala came to me yesterday. Obatala is amazing. Put out a white candle for them. I love Obatala. They had to tell you that, and I was really hoping that you were gonna show up at some. I was literally like, Athena, Athena, Athena. I was like, come on, 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 come on. I hope you're doing well today, Athena, but it made me laugh. Hi, Ancient Eyes, how are you? I like that. I appreciate it. Um, it also just reminds me I was talking to my family about Daddy Daycare, and the kid that speaks Klingon. Star Trek vibes. I've been talking a lot about Star Trek lately. Um, we're definitely a Comic-Con kind of family. So, um, but yeah, that was a tangent, but I just really had to tell you. Y'all are just always cracking me up. That's funny. I, for fun, added my name on a ballot when I was voting. There was one option, so I added mine just in the spur of the moment. It wasn't until I walked out and I was like, "What did I?" I'm assuming say do. That's funny. Okay, it must have been your energy because I kept saying voting, kept saying voting. What did I just do? You just go with the flow, right? Just like spirit probably has some sort of surprise that's supposed to come to you. I love it. Who knows? Maybe we'll see you in some sort of event. I'll vote for you. What was it for? What kind of ballot were you on? Was it like a local election? A song ballot? Were you writing a ballad and then voted for somebody on a ballot? I'm doing great today. How are you? Thanks for asking. I always appreciate when folks ask. I'm doing fabulous. Today's been fun. I'm gonna head out in probably a little bit. But I'm doing that thing again where I'm lingering, so I hope you're doing well. How are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. Like I swear, I gave permission somehow. What did I do? I don't know. You'll find out. You'll find out. Sometimes you just gotta just go for it. That's what's so fun about being divinely led, because no matter what you do, you'll find out soon. You'll always find out soon. The universe is just always testing you, always testing. Love your voice. Thank you. I appreciate that. You gotta just follow those intuitive nudges. Just local stuff, who is in charge of what section of the city or whatever. One person in our area, so I figured that wasn't much of a race, so I added my name. You're so funny. Why not? Just jump right in. I'm sure you could handle it. The only way you're gonna know is if you try. That's the theme lately in the energy. As we're leading towards Leo new moon, which, by the way, if you have not come to Z School for the Gifted, that's what we're celebrating on Thursday, which I'm really excited about. It's gonna be fun. Added my name on a voting ballot. I might be an Aquarius, but I'm not big into running in politics. Well, technically, Aquarians find solutions in the most unexpected way. So you might be the best option, right? Maybe you don't call it politics. Do it the Aquarius way. I'm an Aquarius moon, so I totally get that feeling. So I do everything differently. Like every time I tell people I'm an activist, it's mostly men. Um, when I tell them I'm an activist, they start like heavily talking about politics, and they don't actually ask me about it. And that's usually where I exit. But like, I'm also an Aquarius moon, so I also know that having an audience is a different way of approaching politics. Because if there's more people on the ground that are helping out and starting their businesses and taking action, we can combat the banana politics that are happening right now, right? You do it however you want to do it. Also, everybody told me not to run my YouTube the way I run my YouTube. And do I sometimes really mess up my algorithm? Yes. But I do it on purpose because Spirit asked me to, and I seem to be doing great. So you just do you. You run those not politics the way you want to run it. I am very out of the box thinking it's great. You should be. I remember the High Budget of Alexandra life a little bit. I don't mind telling men what I think they should hear. It's very toxic and hard energies to shed sometimes. Yeah, yeah, it's totally true. Sometimes I exit, sometimes I share. It just depends on my mood that day and if they're open to it. And if I'm in my I'm running my business energy, I might be a little bit more masculine that day. So just watch out. And I find that when I'm in my activism and um someone like talks at me, oh, my masculine side just like, but if I'm tired, I'll just walk away and not say anything and then just let them think about whatever just happened. I am an Aquarius moon. I literally caused earthquake in grad school. All racism stuff. Yeah, it still is shaking years later. You do you, right? You shake up the world in the best way possible. And that's why you're gonna crush it at Miss Universe Canada. Because we need all the Aquarians just out doing stuff. Everybody. Leos, Aquarians. I call to all the Leos and Aquarians in whatever placement. Just call on it and just go. We have a Leo like new moon. It's great. It's a powerful new moon. It's like, oh man, like you be a leader. You need to be a leader. It's time for everybody to lead and step into their strength. I feel like sometimes strength can be distorted, like views of strength can be distorted based on societal views. And even for the divine feminine, there are parts of us that are rejected within society, even being spiritual warriors like myself, because, there's some, regardless of gender, other old colonial ways. Um, that keep warrior energies at bay, right? Because it threatens their rule, basically, type of stuff. And so there's a balance. Um, and I feel like what's happening right now is our world, and I told myself, I was like, I'm gonna be one to help all these people. Our world, like, we're gonna see more goddess energies coming out into the world, more also warrior goddess energies that are being accompanied by their divine masculine energy, regardless of gender, because they're meant to rule together or in groups. If you have a community, doesn't matter. But you know what I mean? Because it needs to happen that way. And a lot of our ancestors function that way. There were a lot of femme rulers because of their divinity and strength, but they were heavily suppressed for a long time. And then by like toxic type of patriarchy, right? So then the feminine had to then like fight and be in the masculine in order to balance that energy out, which then swung us like, so it's all these teeter-totter things. But I feel like now that's why we're seeing a lot of goddess like healing energies that are also warriors kind of step forward because they need to. We need to. Yeah, spirit and soul over everything. I love you. Thanks. I appreciate the love. Thanks for articulating that to me. I really appreciate it. I love when folks articulate it. I love when people are just honest in general. You're actually very good at articulating your emotions. I appreciate it. Does Leo new moon Mimi will be unafraid to lead? If you lean into the energy, yes. Yeah. I heard something recently that blew my mind a little. Someone was saying that the reason for their addictions was because they didn't want to be here, and that explains so much for me. Hit home. Yeah, sometimes that happens, right? Sometimes that happens. It's time for people to learn about the husband. A lot of teeter-totter stuff everywhere. Yeah, a lot of imbalanced energy. Like we're trying to get back into balance, but um we need divine energies on both sides to like come into union to help with this. That's why there's a lot of soulmates joining in and twin flames and things like that because it's time. They need to. Everybody needs to. There needs to be a higher frequency of love happening in order to proliferate it out into the universe. I was wearing white yesterday and didn't know that is this color. And when I went outside, I was helping random people that started coming to me after releasing the past. It ushered in new love. I love that. Amazing. Yeah. New love for people. Yeah, Obatala is great. All the auditions are so great. I cry all the time talking to all the divine energies and just saying thank you. They love and protect us so much, right? And my screen is funny. When you have that connection with them, life feels almost unreal. Unreal. And they teach you so much. But the Orishas are very, unless like for folks who haven't experienced them, like the Orishas, they're like family. They treat you like family. That's how it feels. Um, and they're so loving. And what's great is that, within the African diaspora and, Latin American like diaspora, because of that energy and that belief and how deeply the Orishas kind of show up in people's lives, it's easier for all of us to find each other because the Orishas orchestrate it. Um, and they show up in very like massive ways. It's really, really cool to see. It's very similar to like spirit energy, but I would say like when you're attached to the Orishas, it's a different type of, it's like intense. Like it's so intense. Um, like they just like swoop you up and protect you and help you and make their presence known, and they activate you in a very full body way, and they will like go to bat for you if they need to. And your ancestors will step in to like also help you interact with them. At least mine do. Um, and they'll tell me like if they're like, "Oh, you didn't put out a something for," right? They'll tell me, or they'll send me to my friend Mary. And Mary will be like, blah, 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 blah. Or I'll be in the spiritual store like, what do I need to buy? I did cry yesterday. Yeah, their energy is really powerful. Um, Working with deities are just amazing in general. There's nothing like it. That like I don't know how to explain it. And then like when you mix in the universe and God, it's like your heart just like explodes. Explodes. And it's hard to ignore. It's hard to not feel love. Like it's impossible. That's why I've dedicated my life to this work, because there's so much love in the world, and people miss it. They miss it all the time. There's love just staring at the sunshine, right? There's love at, you know, waking up that day and being so lucky to not hear bombs, right? Um, there's love in meeting someone new, even if it's for a short while, or working with animals or seeing them, right? You can just sit around and look at all the love. I do that all the time. I do it all the time in coffee shops. Like, wow, like I try not to cry the whole time because I'm like, wow, look at that person smiling. Like when I was at this concert once, and spirit kind of led me to buy a certain item, and then it turned out that was the last item to go meet Jai Wolf. And so then I met Jai Wolf, and he was so nice, and I just stood there in awe because they let me. I was like, can I just stand here? He didn't care. um Watching all the people go talk to him, and he just would say something so sweet, and they would smile. I was like, wow, I could stand here all day and just cry. Look how happy everybody is. Like you can see love like just everywhere. Or listening to kids laugh. A kid's laugh is like, I don't even know, like reminds me of Monsters Inc. They like they have the kids scream, but then they have the kids laughter, and it's like, how can you not be happy? Listen to that kid. Like when my nephew laughs, I love it so much. Or when he's just staring at you like, ah! I'm like, I just can't help but love you. I can't help but squish you. And when he grips with his toes, because he loves gripping things with his toes. How can you not love that? So cute. There's so much love everywhere. I went on a tangent, but I know this talk was about, walking with God and all the things, and it evolved. I love that. I love that so much. Should probably edit the title, don't you think? I'll fix it later. I'll fix it later. Does anybody else have any questions before I get going? Oh, reminder, Magic to Market, the 4 p.m. class is today. So if you are an entrepreneur, content creator, whatever it is, come join. I'm also going to be going over towards the end of class after questions, the back end of setting up YouTube settings that you need to know that are really going to help your business grow. Um, and yeah, I'm gonna be doing segments on each part of YouTube. YouTube, there's a lot of stuff you can do. Monsters Inc. reminds me of my soul a little bit, and Boo was my nickname as a kid. That's so cute. I love Monsters Inc. It's so precious. How much is it? Class is always $22. If you do specialized coaching, that's $500 plus. If you do candle working, 144. and tarot reads 144, that kind of stuff. Uh, but the Z School for the Gifted and Magic to Market, which is a part of Z's Divine Academy, all of those are $22, and then there's going to be a larger package that's going to be 555, and you get like all the classes plus private coaching and things like that. Yes, the love is intense, but it was needed. I feel like I'm in my power now. I changed the food I brought for myself too. Good. I woke up quoting Monsters Inc. today. See, everything happens for a reason. You can't say that life is nonsense, right? This is why you just have to let energy flow. This is why when spirit says, Z, I need you to just get online and open your mouth. And I'm like, done, son. Because why? This. Because of this. Love the vibes. Thanks. I was like, why am I doing this? But it all makes sense now. Because you're seer, yes. And a reminder for everybody, unconditionally love. Maybe laugh today. Listen to some jokes or something. Make your own jokes. Go enjoy laughter. It's very healing for the soul. We need more of it in the world right now. The person I spent time with yesterday by the river, the one from Afghanistan, was so sweet. We laughed a lot, so much. They also taught me about, different types of meat that they eat, like sheep butt. I didn't know, I couldn't say the name, so I just kept calling it sheep butt. Um, and it just was so nice. And they were grateful, I was grateful, and we were like, people need to have more conversations. And we went our separate ways. Um, so go enjoy yourself today. I'm gonna sign off. You're so sweet, Victoria. Thanks for sending us good vibes. I will see whoever is meant to join today. The link is in the description. You can go to Linktree and then the top button that says rituals and that kind of stuff. And then you just scroll down and find it in the offerings. The world needed to be shaken up. Yeah, 10, yeah, 10 million bajillion thousandths percenties. Enjoy your Daisy. Thanks, Edie. I love you all too. Humanity was yes, now we are. Y'all are the sweetest. Go eat some delicious food. Enjoy your day. Thanks, King Grizzly. I'll talk to you all later. Eat some peanuts.